All right, strap yourselves in, because this one's, well, let's just say this deep dive is going to hit you right in the feels. We're talking about a story intense as any thriller you've ever seen. Except this one. It's all too real. Think a whole country just imploding, a family ripped apart, and one woman just, I don't know, refusing to break. You ready for this?
Oh, and what's really wild is, like, we're not even going the usual route here, you know? No dusty history books, no political mumbo-jumbo. We're getting this story through a movie review, actually. A review of this 2024 Brazilian film, I'm Still Here. Directed by Walter Salles, by the way. You might know him. He did Central Station, The Motorcycle Diaries. Yeah, the guy's got a knack for powerful stories.
Right. And this review, it's not just your average thumbs up, thumbs down kind of deal. It goes deep. Like way deep into how this film nails a huge moment in Brazilian history, the 1964 coup d'etat, and how one family just, well, they try to make sense of the chaos that comes after.
Yeah, and get this, the film, it doesn't even focus on the guy who disappears, Eunice Paiva, this congressman. It's all about his wife, Eunice, and their kids, which, honestly, that just makes it 10 times more intense. You feel every ounce of fear, every bit of confusion, every desperate attempt to find answers, like you're right there with them.
And the reviewer, man, they are all over Fernanda Torres' performance as Eunice. She doesn't just act it, she becomes this, like, embodiment of, well, resilience. This fierce kind of love, a mother bear protecting her cubs, you know? Facing down danger, the kind that just, I don't even know, it's not just strength. It's like this absolute refusal to let her family fall apart when everything else is.
Yeah, the reviewer picks up on that, like, desperation, you know? She embodies this whole fight for truth, which under a regime where people just vanish, that fight, that's survival right there.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what would you even do if you were suddenly in her shoes? I mean, could you find that strength? Could you keep going, never give up hope?
And here's the thing. This whole story is playing out against this backdrop of, well, political turmoil. But Salles, the director, he never lets you forget the heart of Brazil. You know,
Yeah.
like Rio de Janeiro, the visuals are stunning. And the music, he uses Gal Costa, Os Mutantes. It's like pure Brazilian soul.
Whoa, Gal Costa and Os Mutantes. Seriously, their music, it's, I don't know, it's like this shot of energy and pure feeling all at once, weaving that into this story with all the tension, the emotion. Man, that's got to be powerful.
Oh, yeah. Gal Costa's voice, those powerful vocals. And Os Mutantes, they're like this psychedelic rock, just, I don't know, quintessentially Brazilian, especially back then. And the reviewer, they call it a, quote, love letter to Brazil, which is kind of crazy, right? Finding beauty in this, this really dark chapter.
It's almost like even with everything falling apart politically, Sal is saying, hey, the soul of Brazil, that's still here. The music, the people, that vibrancy, it's not going anywhere.
You got it. And hold on, there's this other detail the reviewer points out that just blew my mind. Salles, he uses this footage, right? Looks like old 16mm home movies, blurs the line between, I don't know, fiction and reality. The Paiva family, they're suddenly right there in your living room.
Wow, talk about pulling the audience in. It's not just watching a story, it's like living it right there with the Paiva family. Almost like, I don't know, like you stumbled across their home movies, you know? Those little moments, those anxieties, all those hopes. You're not just an outsider anymore, you're right there with them.
Exactly. That feeling, that closeness, it makes you connect with them, with their struggles on a whole other level. And speaking of connections, get this. Fernanda Montenegro, you know, the star of Central Station. Yeah, she plays Eunice, but older Eunice, like later in life.
Wait, Fernanda Montenegro? No way.
Yeah.
I mean, they have these icons of Brazilian cinema, both playing the same character at different points in her life.
That's typical.
But it can't just be a coincidence.
Right. You're kidding. Salles is way too smart for that. It's brilliant, right? It's like he's showing us time passing, this, I don't know, endurance of the human spirit, those family bonds stretching across generations. It goes way beyond just casting, you know. It becomes the symbol of, I don't know, Eunice's journey, her fight, this legacy. It really hits you, you know? Like how that cast choice just reinforces this whole idea of like resilience, how hope can survive even when things are, I don't know, really dark. Their reviewer even says that. It's not just a thriller, it's about how Brazil just keeps going.
Yeah, it's like even with Rubens missing, with all that political stuff, the film doesn't lose sight of, I don't know, like the heart of Brazil, right? All that beauty, the people.
Exactly. And Sal's like, he doesn't shy away from the politics either. I mean, in 1964, that coup d'etat was, it was huge, right? It kicked off like 20 years of military dictatorship, censorship, human rights abuses, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. So this isn't just like a made-up story. This is reflecting a real, like, painful part of Brazil's past. And thinking about Eunice and her family, it just adds this whole other layer, right? They weren't just fighting for Rubens. They were fighting for, I don't know, their freedom, their identity, even their country's soul.
Right, and it brings us to this bigger picture, this theme that runs through the whole film. The reviewer points it out too, how Eunice and her family, their struggle becomes the symbol of, well, resisting the regime, right? They're like this representation of, I don't know, the spirit of the Brazilian people, refusing to be silenced, even with all that danger, all that pressure.
The reviewer mentioned that Eunice and some family members were even harassed, tortured. That's just horrifying. How do they even, I don't know, how do they keep going with all that brutality?
Honestly, it shows you how strong their beliefs were, how powerful love and family can be. Think about it. Constant fear, not knowing what happened to Rubens, that pain. And they never gave up. The reviewer suggests it was, I don't know, that belief in justice, maybe, that hope for a better Brazil. And definitely their love for each other, that's what kept them going.
It's almost unimaginable, to hold on to that hope for so long, knowing the risks. Makes you wonder about your own strength. Would you be able to do that? Could you?
It makes you think, right. And it leads us to what the reviewer says is the core of the film. I'm still here. It's more than just a political thriller. It's about, I don't know, it's about the human spirit, how strong it can be. It's about love, about hope, about finding courage when things are, really, really bad.
It's like even in the darkest times, there's always this, I don't know, this little spark, a glimmer of hope. And sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places. A family's love, a woman's courage, a whole nation just refusing to give up.
You nailed it. And that spirit, that's what Salles captures so well in this film. The reviewer even talks about how those home movies, the casting of both Fernanda Torres and Fernanda Montenegro, it all comes together to create this message of resilience, hope, even in the face of, well, everything.
Yeah, it's crazy how these little details, they end up meaning so much. It's not just about what you see, it's those layers underneath, right? The symbolism, the emotions, the way everything connects and pulls you in.
And that's what makes I'm Still Here so powerful. It's not just a movie, it's a reflection of what it means to be human, the love, the loss, the hope. It reminds us that even when things are rough, the human spirit, it can not just survive, but I don't know, maybe even thrive.
It's crazy. This film is set way back in the 60s in Brazil, but I don't know, it feels so relevant to what we're seeing in the world right now. Huh? Families looking for their loved ones, fighting for basic human rights. It's still happening.
That's what's so amazing about stories like this. It doesn't matter where or when it's about. I don't know. It's this core human stuff, right? Resilience, hope, fighting for what you believe in. The reviewer even compares what happened in Brazil in '64 to, the rise of authoritarianism we see now in all these different places.
Yeah, and it's a wake-up call, isn't it? Democracy, human rights, that fight's never really over. It makes you think about Eunice and her family in a whole new light. They weren't just searching for Rubens, they were fighting for, well, everything. Their country, justice, freedom.
Exactly. And it's inspiring, right? For anyone dealing with injustice anywhere in the world, it shows that even against overwhelming power, regular people can actually make a difference.
The reviewer mentions how the film, it doesn't sugarcoat the brutality of the regime, but it also focuses on these small acts of resistance, Eunice refusing to give up on finding Rubens, or how Brazilian music and culture, it kept going, even with all that censorship. It's never losing hope.
Yeah, finding ways to push back, even a little, holding on to your identity, keeping that, keeping that flame alive, even when things are dark. And it reminds us that those small acts, when enough people do them, they can build up. They can actually lead to big changes.
Thinking about Eunice's story, I keep coming back to, the sheer strength, Where does that even come from? To face all that and never back down?
Well, I think it's a lot of things, right? Love for her family, for sure, love for her country. But also, I think having a purpose, something you really believe in that can push you forward, even when it's hard.
Right. Their fight, it became bigger than just finding Rubens. It was about a better Brazil, a world where justice matters. And that kind of purpose, that can give you, a whole different level of strength.
Absolutely. And that's something I think, we can all take away from this film. I'm Still Here. It's not just a story about one family. It's about, it's about what humans are capable of. Enduring, resisting, hoping, even when it seems impossible.
And that's what I hope, our listeners will remember. That resilience, that courage, that hope, we all have it inside us. And even when things are really tough, we can choose to fight for better. For ourselves, for our communities, for, the whole world.
Well said. And maybe just maybe, that's the most important lesson we can learn from the Paiva family. That even in the darkest times, the human spirit, it shines through. And that hope and love and fighting for what's right, in the end, those things can win out.
So to all you listeners out there, we want to leave you with this. What really stuck with you from this deep dive into I'm Still Here? What is this family story? What does it teach us about never giving up, about fighting for what you believe in? And how can we take that and use it in our own lives, in our communities, in the world around us? Think about it. Keep thinking about it, even after this episode is over.